India has long been known as the pharmacy of the world. But over the past decade, and particularly under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that phrase has evolved from pride to a plan, not just affordable medicines, but global leadership in healthcare innovation. In this video we'll map the 5 moves rewriting India's pharma story, from vaccine diplomacy that reached hundreds of nations, to new R&D hubs and an energetic startup ecosystem. Stay tuned, I'll explain what's changed, why it matters, and what it means for patients, scientists and businesses worldwide. When PM Modi talks healthcare, he speaks systems, not slogans. Programs like the Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Pariyojana were scaled to put essential, generic medicines within reach of millions, lowering out-of-pocket costs and improving treatment adherence in Tier 2 and Tier 3 towns. That affordable backbone matters. It finances capability building and creates a stable domestic market that manufacturers can rely on. India today is a dominant global supplier of generic medicines. Roughly 20% of generics by volume originate from Indian industry, and that manufacturing strength funds the next step, investment into R&D and higher value therapies. Modi's approach is deliberately dual: secure access for the many while creating incentives to climb the value ladder. Expect more targeted tax breaks, R&D grants and public-private partnerships designed to move firms from producing low-margin generics to developing complex biologics and novel molecules. This is where policy meets purpose: affordability at home, competitiveness abroad. When the pandemic hit, India's industrial muscle turned into humanitarian diplomacy. The Vaccine Maitri program shipped doses, technical assistance and raw materials across regions. A mix of grants, concessional sales and commercial exports, and government reporting puts the total deliveries to vulnerable countries in the hundreds of millions of doses. That scale was possible because India already had substantial vaccine manufacturing capacity. Industry and government estimates place India as the source of a dominant share of global vaccine supply for many vaccine types, roughly around 60% in some categories, which turned out to be decisive for global immunization efforts. Why did Vaccine Maitri matter beyond immediate relief? First, it built strategic trust. Partner governments that received Indian vaccines became more open to regulatory collaboration and sourcing agreements. Second, corporate India gained invaluable international logistics experience, scaling cold chain exports and meeting varied regulatory standards. Third, the initiative paved the way for deeper R&D and manufacturing partnerships, creating pipelines for future vaccines and biologics. The result was a clear elevation of India's standing, not only as the world's pharmacy, but as a reliable partner in global health. Demonstration is one thing, infrastructure is another. Modi's government has prioritized industrial upgrades including bulk drug parks, medical device parks and newly designated centers of excellence to lower input costs, de-risk supply chains and create GMP-ready facilities for biologics and advanced therapeutics. These parks reduce the environmental and regulatory burden for small and mid-sized manufacturers and improve economies of scale. These investments are timed against a large market opportunity. Industry projections place the Indian pharmaceuticals market on a path to roughly $130 billion by 2030, driven by domestic demand, exports and rising biotech investment. Regulators are also modernizing to align with global inspection standards, while policymakers evaluate incentives, tax reliefs and R&D credits to make discovery commercially viable. On the ground, the change is visible: modular biologics suites, automated lines for aseptic processing, and pilot plants that allow universities and startups to scale a promising molecule to clinical-grade material. International collaborations, technology transfers and joint ventures are increasingly the path to rapid scale. Put simply, India is building the physical and regulatory scaffolding so scale and science can grow together. The next revolution in pharma is being driven by India's youth. Policy and parks matter, but innovation often starts with small teams. India's health tech and biotech startup ecosystem has exploded. Cloud-native drug discovery firms, AI-driven screening platforms, affordable point-of-care diagnostics and digital health services aimed at rural networks. Investors have been active, funding diagnostics, digital care, and scalable AI platforms, and accelerators plus government incubators are helping teams clear regulatory and GMP hurdles. What's exciting is speed. Small, well-funded teams can iterate drug repurposing models, run pilot diagnostics in real clinics, and plug into larger manufacturers for scale. That's a new model for India, Startups act as the R&D engine while established players provide manufacturing, regulatory know-how and distribution. If this pairing deepens, India's innovation pipeline could become a consistent source of globally competitive medicines and technologies. Looking ahead, 5 tech arenas will define India's climb: biologics and biosimilars, gene and cell therapies, AI-driven drug discovery, decentralized modular manufacturing, and point-of-care diagnostics. Biologics offer high therapeutic value and margins, and India is steadily building capacity to make complex biologics at scale. Early gene therapy programs and preclinical work are underway in academic and private labs, and policy support could accelerate their translation. AI and digital health will speed discovery. Machine learning can repurpose approved drugs, predict toxicity, and design adaptive clinical trials that reduce time and cost. Decentralized modular plants promise faster, lower-risk manufacturing close to demand centers. Diagnostics designed for low-resource settings will transform early detection and treatment adherence across India and export markets. These ambitions require 3 enabling shifts: regulatory agility for adaptive trials and faster approvals, calibrated incentives, tax credits and translational grants that reduce early risk, and talent scaling, specialized bioengineering and regulatory science training. International partnerships and academic collaborations will also be critical for IP, safety data and market access. If India nails these enablers, the country's path is not to displace existing strengths but to layer high-value innovation on top of enormous manufacturing scale, creating a global ecosystem that makes both affordable medicines and cutting-edge therapies accessible. That's the real prize: scale plus science. To wrap up, Modi's role in India's pharma transformation is threefold: policy to set direction, platforms to create scale, and performance by industry and entrepreneurs to deliver results. That combination produced a powerful pandemic response, and now the government's investments and incentives are aiming to convert that momentum into enduring innovation. If India continues to align funding, regulatory flexibility and international partnerships, it can move from being the world's go-to factory for medicine to a true global innovation hub. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe to Pharmahealth Insights, and ring the bell for future deep dives. Comment below: of the 5 areas we covered, affordability, manufacturing, infrastructure, startups, or future technologies, which should India fast track first?